Hello there, Drew Hanish, Whiskey Lore, here to do another tasting video for you guys. Little different setting today. Actually, you're going to realize why I don't do it from this particular direction, because trying to get the camera set up at a distance that's far enough for me to be able to do this tasting and you see the glasses and everything else is a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to be tasting today 3 different whiskeys, all from the same mash bill. Normally, I don't like doing blind tastings, but today is a blind tasting. I have 3 whiskeys in front of me. All 3 have the same mash bill, but all are 3 variations of a particular type of whiskey. I got my little flavor wheel with me here that you can get these at Whiskey Lore, whiskey-lore.com, as well as tasting notes, because I have my little tasting notepad here where I have written down information about, as you can see, Jack Daniels. So I just got back from Jack Daniels, did a great interview with Nelson Eddy, their chief historian, about a couple of stories that I was following, and you'll be hearing parts of his interview plus some of the stories I've collected from that interview. He ended up giving me, we talked about Sinatra for a while because I'm a big fan of Sinatra, and I've always said that, you know, when they lowered the proof, Jack Daniels was 90 proof when Sinatra drank it, then they lowered it to 86 proof around 1987 or 77, I think it was 87 that they lowered it, and then they lowered it again in 2002 to match the rest of the world at 80%. And of course, doing all this whiskey tasting, you start to realize that sometimes too much water is taking away too much flavor. So I've been a bit of a, you would call it a Jack Daniels snob, and saying, I don't want to drink Old Number 7 at 80 proof. I want to drink something that's higher proof. So what's ended up happening was, well, first of all, during my visit with Nelson, he provided me with this cute little bottle of Sinatra. So this stuff usually runs, I've seen it at $150 a bottle, and it comes in a very fancy bottle, and it's a little tougher than your normal to make. So I'm going to be tasting that, and I'm going to be tasting this, which is the single barrel. Okay, and I got that while I was in Nashville, and that is a store pick. And then the last one that I'm going to taste is this that came out from the Master Distillers series, which is from Jimmy Bedford. And if I can read and get my specs there, you know, this was something each of the different distillers got a chance to kind of come up with their own special take on Jack Daniels. No real description of what he did here that was different from anyone else, but he was master distiller for 21 years with Jack Daniels from 1988 to 2008. So these 3, which you can't really necessarily see until I raise them, I'm going to do a tasting of all 3. And I'm doing a blind tasting. The reason I'm doing a blind tasting is because I know me. Part of my reason for not liking to do blind tastings is that I feel influenced by the label, but since all 3 of these are the same, it would be very interesting to see how different they are. Now, one of the other differences between these 3 is proof. So the highest proof is the single barrel, and this one comes in at 47% alcohol. 45, so the 90 proof that Sinatra knew is right there, and 43 for the Jimmy Bedford version. So I'm going to jump in. I can tell you one thing that I know about all 3 of these: there will be banana, nut bread somewhere in this nosing. I have written on a little piece of Scotch tape on the bottom of the glasses what the numbers are, so that I can tell at the end which one I like. But let's see how this goes. And so there it is. That the banana nut is yeah, it's there. It's there. Oh man, I love banana nut bread, so that always stands out to me. Little oakiness in there. This one doesn't come across as overly sweet or overly strong on the nose. I'm going to go ahead and jump on this one. Yeah, this one actually has a little bit more nose to it. It also is coming with some what is that? Maybe a little more alcohol on that one. I'm sort of picking up maybe an ethanol. I almost want to say it's almost like a glue kind of a smell. And then it's funny going between the three to see whether you notice it in all three. We get a little more cinnamon out of this one on the nose, like a baking cinnamon. They are all very similar in nose, and none of them stand out a lot more. This one's a little bit lighter on the nose than the other two. All right, so let's dive in for tastes on these and see what we get. Ooh, there's some of that cinnamon in there too. The banana carries through. The banana nut carries through. Yeah, cinnamon. Interesting, because I've not really paid much attention to that before. There's a little honey in there. It's got a nice long finish to it. Yeah. Oh, gosh, sometimes I wish I could just put my finger on it. There's a little yeastiness on the end. It's got a nice, even finish on the way out. I don't know. I don't know what I'm picking up in that. I hate that because it's like, it is nice. It is nice, but there's a cerealness to it there towards the end of the finish. You know, more of the caramel, maybe a touch of honey, like a cinnamon hot cross bun cake. It's very interesting there at the end. I like that. I've had a big change in Jack Daniel's because I was not a fan of it for a long time because I had a bad experience with it when I was young. And it took me a long time to get back to it. But now that I'm getting back to it, oh yeah, there's some of that char that's left on the palate as well. Now that I'm getting back to it, I'm starting to appreciate it a lot more, and especially the variations. And I think the fact that I'm getting away from drinking the 80 proof and I'm starting to get into stuff that has a little bit more flavor to it. Oh man, now after the first run on it, the nose really picks up. There's a toasted oak, again a little bit of that ethanol comes through, that kind of alcohol kind of a smell. I think that comes from bananas and honey and sweetness, and maybe my relationship to high gravity beers, because high gravity beers always are kind of sugary and sweet to me. But this isn't an offensive sweet, and definitely a toasted oak in there. Liking the nose and the mouthfeel on this one. A little more of the honey comes through on that one. Charred oak, though, is a little more intense. You can taste that. These are all mellowed with and run through sugar maple charcoal, which should sweeten them a bit, but they don't get as sweet as, say, a Canadian whiskey. There's a little caramel in there, a little bit of vanilla in there as well. This one seemed to have the most to offer so far in fullness of flavor. All right, let's see what this one does. Banana is really strong on that. It's amazing how after you taste one, the nose just really picks up. Yeah, this one's a little sweeter to me. The oak isn't quite as strong in this. The bananas and a little bit of that nuttiness comes out there, but it's not, the nuttiness isn't as strong. There's some fruit in there, a little hint of that that alcohol, but just a hint. Ooh, caramel's a lot stronger on that one. There's a spiciness to it. There's a pepperiness. It's a combo of peppery, maybe a little bit of that cinnamon bite, and the char of the oak barrel. Very interesting. All right, I'm gonna put it this way. I'm gonna say this is my number one. Ooh, but this is a close second, and this is my third. So let's find out. What was the one I liked the most? Oh, this is going to be embarrassing, isn't it? No, the one I like the most, surprise, surprise, no surprise at all, is actually the single barrel. Congratulations. Number two is, whoa. Number two is Jimmy Bedford. Interesting. Did not expect that. And my number three, sadly, is the Sinatra. Well, at $150 a bottle versus $30 a bottle versus $50 a bottle, I gotta tell you, I don't know that there's that wide of a difference between them, but the definitely my favorite of the bunch. And a really interesting experiment. Like I say, not something that I normally do, blind tastings, because again, I think seeing the label is actually part of the tasting experience. But since all of these three are the same, I figured this time I would give it a shot and see how it went. So, and I really wanted to know myself which one that appealed to me, because I drank all of them knowing what they were, and I was having a hard time not letting my prejudices of what I think is going to be the one I like jump in. So very cool to get validation on that single barrel, which was very, very good. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and more videos coming in the future. Maybe a couple more blind tastings somewhere down the road. Maybe I'll do some Islas versus Islas to see, you know, if I can pick out the differences between each. This was really tough because they all have similar flavor profiles, but each does have its own distinct area where it jumps out a little bit more than the other. Cheers, Stanjava.